I'm Henna. Hi. I'm a policy and programmes lead at Progress, which is lots of P's. So what that essentially means is it's my job to think about what we believe and what we want to happen, and also my job to help create the streams of work, like the events, the publications, and the engagement that we do with different people to try and make those things happen. So I guess an example of it, which is really concrete, is we have a podcast called Progressive Britain, which I host. And one of the things that we do is we go around and we speak to MPs, campaigners, people doing interesting things in their community, and ask them about what they do and why. I like the fact that I feel that although it's quite chaotic at the moment, I know what I do has a real impact or could have a real impact, and that's very important to me. And it's a cause I feel very passionately about. So when I compare my job to the jobs that some of my peers might have, working in the city or in consultancy or for the civil service, they do often similar things to what I do, and they get paid more, maybe they have more structure and slightly nicer lives, but actually they don't get to really make a political and values-based argument, which is what it's my job to do, and that's the thing I care about. So it really depends. Some weeks can be quieter, but it's quite difficult to count hours because part of my job is obviously I work in a group within the Labour Party, so I have to go to my Labour Party meetings and do things like that outside of work. Last year we had breakfast events at party conference, so I was easily waking up at 6:30 and going to bed at 2 every day for 5 days. But that's sort of like the high watermark of the amount of work that I would do. So it does really vary, and when there's a lot to do, there is really a lot to do. I think it's two things. I think the first one is this is sort of very basic and sort of makes me feel a bit bad saying this, but it's the knowledge that we could win. So it's an idea that when you work for a political faction, essentially what you're doing is you're trying to influence a political party to take on board your ideas and work towards your agenda. And I guess the second thing is the idea that if we do win, or things that we do and we achieve actually will have an impact. In the past year, we've, as part of that coalition of groups, have helped shift the Labour Party's position on Brexit to one where we'll have a people's vote either way, essentially. And actually, it's wins like that that make you want to carry on at it because you see it's worth it. I think you'll find this funny, but politics, it's a very stressful environment. A lot of it is about personal relationships, and therefore small politics and personal relationships can get very embroiled in the broader mission of what we're trying to do. And I find that quite difficult to navigate because I am quite straightforward and I like things to just be done. And actually, lots of the time to get things done, you have to have an understanding and you have to read a room and see where power lies in a room. And often to go from A to B, you have to go via C, D and E before you can ever get there. And I find that very frustrating. When I was at university, I sort of steered clear of the Labour Club and of sort of Labour students and all of that sort of activism, but mainly because I thought it was all sort of like posturing and passing motions and not really doing anything. And I didn't really like the sort of vibe or tone of the people who I met. From the point of view that I have now, I now sort of see why it is useful, and it has been useful, unfortunately useful now in the Labour Party to have that experience, because I know roughly where I sit and roughly what I think, and also it's a very good exercise in knowing that you have to continually educate yourself in politics, and actually taking a line is not always the best thing to do because you're not always quite sure of the intentions of the person giving you that line. Absolutely, I think this is very like Oxford specific now, but I think the tutorial system was very useful, and I say this sort of as a very blanket term, is that actually the ability to sound confident and come up with an argument, and actually particularly when politics and like even in the Labour Party is still a very like I mean, it's a boys' club, but a boys' club of a different sort to ones that you'd find in other parties. Like, yeah, they might not have all gone to Eton, but they all still think a lot of themselves and like to talk over you. And actually feeling that you have the confidence and you know that you can argue for yourself puts you in a position whereby you feel a bit more confident to challenge it and put forward your point of view, which I think is really important. And also I think it's informed my politics a lot more. I think I turned up at university with quite a naive view of like, this is good, this is bad. But actually what I got from it was the importance of being rooted in an argument and rooted in a theory. And even if you don't agree with some of the theories, actually being able to argue against them on their own turf. And actually, if we're going to get anywhere, we have to think about where we get the next wave of ideas from and theory from. And that's a rambly way to say actually political theory is far more important than I actually ever thought it was while writing my essays. And there is always so much more to learn and so much more you can take from it. I do well because I can write well, which is a thing lots of my office can't do. And also I have a good eye for proofreading, so I proofread everything. They call me the pen. And it also means I have to see everything before anything gets sent anywhere, which in some ways is like quite a lot of power to have. And I think the ability to say what you mean or to feel confident speaking up for yourself, but also to know when you need to shut up. And actually one of the advantages of being the person who does everything that no one else does is you tend to get a lot of control over output. And one of the really, really interesting things was just because I was thinking of what the breakout sessions should be and what the panel sessions should be, actually we had probably the most diverse range of people on panels that I'd seen in a while, because I'd picked the best or most interesting people I could have done. And that made me very happy because I felt like we platformed the best of new talent. And platforming talent is very important to me. And I didn't enjoy this at all, but I thought it was interesting in its own right. And actually one of my jobs was to just go through and sit outside a ballot office all day and ask people which constituency they were from and whether they'd voted. And I was just telling votes all day. And that sounds incredibly boring. I mean, I just literally sat there and I was like, we won the election, which was fantastic. But also beyond that, it's a reminder that actually very often the work of politics is very, very basic. It's very much finding the people who vote, telling them how to vote and why they should vote that way, and then making sure they voted. And actually that fundamental principle applies whether you're running for school council or in a student union election or whether you're trying to become leader of the Labour Party, right? It always works the same. The basic principle is the same. I think that was a really valuable and interesting experience. Why I stay and why I think my job's so important and why I'm so committed to it is that they see, and civil servants as well, see the impact of who runs the government and who's actually sat in number 10 in everything they do. Like my friend who's a mental health social worker sees the impact of funding cuts, bad management and things on people's daily lives. And for her, it's really real. It's entirely down to the fact that she doesn't have the resources she needs to support these people. And actually for her, the solution is for her to work as hard as she can, but she recognises the solution is political and not through anything that she can do herself. And I think that's why a career in politics will always be important and worthwhile, even if it's not always nice or well paid or fun.